Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Arshel Branch. And before we get started, you guys, I want to say I'm first apologize for not having posted in a while. I had a gig that I had to work. I was working as a babysitter for this last week, and all of my attention had to go to watching the children and not the posting. So I do want to apologize for not having posted or giving you any updates. I'm still getting used to that. How do I do this? Still getting used to that. So you guys know already how I feel about, productivity, taking whatever job or whatever gig you can get while we're struggling to find work out here as millennials. So that's pretty much it. So today, you guys, what we're going to be talking about is the real life Justice League of America. Obviously, when it comes to President Trump and the people that he's putting around him is one of the biggest reasons why he's gaining some more support. Obviously, this is one of the biggest issues that we had with his first term, not paying attention to who he was hiring because he really didn't know that he had to go so in depth in who he was picking. And obviously, my favorite person on this team here is our real life Wonder Woman, Tulsi Gabbard. I disagree with her on some things, but as it relates to no wars, big fan of hers. And so she's someone that is really my Hail Mary. So before we go into starting to talk about all the other characters, all the other players and so-called heroes that we are electing to this team, we shall see. But we're going to talk about it today. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that, shall we? There is something that has been on my heart that I did want to discuss. Discipline is a huge part of being productive, being lucrative. I'm not for anything that goes against true productivity, true sovereignty of the individual. The choices that we make are what's going to be up for judgment. I just love my opening. I absolutely love it. Love the music. And before we get started, you guys, I do want to talk to you guys about the gentleman who actually created that music for me. His name is Matthew Torrance. If you're someone who is interested in having opening scores created for you because you're like myself and you're a content creator, you're a musician and you want to have original music while you write your lyrics and just having the music ready to go ahead and head over to scoresomemusic.com and you can look for Matthew Torrance on that platform. He is fantastic. He's amazing. I'm so grateful. He just reached out to me and said, hey, I want to support you by creating music for you. And I'm so pleased. He asked me all the questions as to what style of music I wanted. And I'm very big into the, pop rock, big fan of that. So that's what he gave me. And I'm very, very happy with what he gave me. So if you guys too are interested in having your original music, you head over to scoresomemusic.com for Matthew Torrance. He's incredible. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for his work. He's talented, incredibly talented. I recommend you guys head over there and you get your original music if you're interested, whether you are a content creator like myself, or you're someone who wants to create original music and you want to have your music styled to you. He asks those questions. He listens to you when he gets that done. So thank you again, Matthew. I'm truly, truly grateful. And I know the other people are going to be very grateful as well. So thank you all again. So obviously today, you guys, we know that Trump is decided to bring on Elon Musk to the team. And we are going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about RFK and where my position on him really stands. Obviously, we know part of the real life Justice League. We have JD Vance as Trump's VP pick. I don't think he's a bad person. I disagree with his position as it relates to Israel. Let's think this is a big thing for America first. One of the things that we are concerned about is what's going on with these wars that the Biden and Harris administration have pretty much are about to have us wrapped up into. And that would include obviously Russia versus Ukraine and of course Israel and the Palestinians. So they'll say, Israel and Hamas, but there are just so many innocent Palestinians that have died that doesn't really seem like this is just about the terrorists anymore. So it's just a question of whether or not the United States are going to be playing a role in either of these wars. Now, when you listen to the JLA of America, the real life JLA, it's very clear. They want nothing to do with the Russia-Ukraine thing. It's quite obvious, right? JD Vance doesn't want anything to do with it. RFK wants nothing to do with it. Obviously, we know Tulsi Gabbard wants nothing to do with it. America First wants nothing to do with it. But the biggest concern that I have as it relates to war here is whether or not we are going to find ourselves going to war in alignment with Israel. Like, for example, when they decide that they want to go to war with Iran, frankly, and I said this in previous episodes, if Israel wants to war with Iran, that is their business. But the reason why I'm talking about this today, you guys, is because not only are we seeing this kind of a position from JD Vance as it relates to going to war with Iran, he said this in certain speeches, which is why America First is a bit concerned. I'm not really this big Nick Fuentes kind of a fan. I know that the Groypers have a bit of a beef with the Trump campaign and that they would like to see some changes happen there. They are also a big proponent for Project 25. I am as well. I did a whole episode, a whole review on Project 25. You guys can find that episode when you go to the YouTube channel. I love everything about Project 25, but Trump has made it very clear that he's distancing himself from that. I've said many times that he's the moderate. They made a martyr out of a moderate, which is why I think a lot of America First were thinking he's going to be this crusader, this champion. And you see people having issues with some of the things that he's saying as a moderate candidate, as relates to abortion, as relates to war, specifically when it comes to Israel. Now, I'm not anti-Israel. I know people are going to say, "Oh, Rochelle, you're coming across as anti-Semitic. You're coming across as an anti-Israeli person." No, frankly, I'm neither of those things. I'm not anti-Semitic, and I'm not anti-Israel. I just don't want to play a role in this conflict that has nothing to do with the security of my country, with the security of my fellow Americans. It's got nothing to do with it. Frankly, I'm just not willing to risk American soldiers or send any more American tax dollars, especially while knowing that the Federal Reserve banks make their money every single time we have one of these wars. It only hurts the American people every time we have one of them, whether it's about morality or not. A lot of these wars seem like it's not about morality, but about the benefits of their energy rights. We saw this with Bush. This is one of the biggest questions about Bush. Like, was this war even necessary? We don't even know, but we're putting our soldiers at risk, and for what? So that way, big business, big government, big banks could make their money while the American people suffer. And I'm just not ready to do that, especially when this doesn't look like this has got anything to do with the United States. Now, before I talk about RFK, let's talk about Elon Musk here. Okay, so here's the thing about Elon. A lot of conservatives are looking at this guy like he's some kind of a champion because of him being a protector of free speech. He obviously bought Twitter because he believes in free speech. And, we actually have this in common. I value X. I value I don't even like calling it that. It's just Twitter. I think he just likes the letter X. I mean, come on, SpaceX. X, which was formerly known as Twitter. I think he just likes the letter X. But, we'll get beyond that. Essentially, just because he's an advocate for free speech doesn't necessarily make me think that he's one of the good guys. I think he might be a necessity, but the same way Lex Luthor would advocate for the Second Amendment, right? Listen, Lex Luthor will advocate for the Second Amendment and the building of new types of technology that could assist the American people in defending themselves. That's an amazing thing. However, let's not get it twisted. He's interested in the Second Amendment because he wants to take a shot at Superman. And this is where we disagree. And I'm just not quite convinced that Elon is not Lex Luthor. He dressed up as the Baphomet on Halloween. I believe this was last year or the year before that. And listen, that's a problem for me. Like, it's like, oh, well, I'm an atheist and I didn't really think anything of it. Well, okay, if you're an atheist, you couldn't dress up like a worm. One of the most beautiful supermodels, retired, I guess, Heidi Klum, dressed up as a worm. She's not afraid to get ugly for Halloween. Why the Baphomet? All these damn Halloween costumes, and that's the one you chose? And I didn't really think that this was going to be an issue. No, you knew what you were doing. Don't tell me you're an atheist. I'm sorry. You got all these children outside of marriage, which clearly suggests that you don't believe that marriage is a fundamental pillar of thriving civilizations, which is, again, and not just an American value, but a Christian value, which just seems quite clear to me you are not. Now, I feel bad that the woke ideology transformed your son, because he did that whole interview with Jordan Peterson where he talked about how the woke murdered my son. And it's essentially because that child became a transgender. So he feels a kind of way. And I sympathize with him on that. And just because he has some things in common with this man doesn't necessarily mean that he's the hero that I'm looking for, right? This is a question of whether or not he's going to turn out to be the Lex Luthor that I believe he is. And I'm not quite sure on that. But before I go even further into Elon Musk, let me go ahead and let me play the clip of Trump saying that he's going to be a part of the real life JLA. So let's play that clip, shall we?
Fourth, at the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. Smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are.
Okay, so before I let him go on, let's just point out that the idea there being an audit on the federal government, I think this is obviously going to be mostly on the spending, which I love. I'm someone who has wanted to see where the money was going. That's a very big deal for me. So this is going to be a big deal. And I'm very excited about it. Whether or not this actually happens, like this could just be a campaign promise. Who knows? I'm hoping he's telling the truth. I'm hoping he's telling the truth. I really want him to tell the truth because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about where this money is going. We keep printing, printing, printing. We know a lot of the money was going into labs. How much of this money is going into other countries? These are questions that the American people have, especially America First. MAGA is just definitely wanting to know all these tax dollars. Where is it going? Is it going to the illegals? Which we already know some of it's going there. We just want the proof. Like just proof. Just show me that what I've been saying is true. Like, I'm tired of, not so much tired of the I told you so's, but I'd like to see the proof. We're speculating up the wazoo in some of these cases when I have these debates with people, and I'm just quite clear. No, this is what's happening. Most of this money is going everywhere but to actual true productivity and making life better for the American people. So let's go ahead and let's keep this going, shall we? Because it's ridiculous.
And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force. It'd be interesting if he has the time. It'd be a good one to do it, but he's agreed to do it. In 2022, fraud and improper payments alone cost taxpayers an estimated hundreds of billions of dollars.
Okay.
As the first order,
he goes further into what's wrong with the spending of the federal government. But really, the part that I really wanted you guys to really focus on was how he's saying that he wants Elon Musk to head the task force that's going to be responsible for auditing the federal government. Now, that's going to be an incredible uh, position. It's something. It's really something. I remember watching an interview that Trump had with another content creator, another YouTuber, podcaster, whichever you want to call him, and he asked, "Would you hire Elon to be part of your cabinet?" And he said, "Well, I don't know how he's going to be able to do it. He's got all this other stuff. He runs big businesses, right? You've got a satellite in space. You own a cryptocurrency, Doge, right? You're putting out all these cars. You're working on flying cars. Are you really going to have the time to play a role in the cabinet?" And Elon is saying that he obviously wants to do the job. Like he said, he's shooting his shot. I'm not mad at him. And he's brilliant, right? We know that he's brilliant. And so Trump is going to make him the head of this task force that's going to audit the federal government. Now, obviously, we know that when it came to the Twitter files, the information came out. Elon had no problem the second he bought it, that he was going to put this out there. One of the reasons why I think they worked so hard to keep him from buying Twitter was because they knew that he would have access to this information, knowing that they were spying on Americans, knowing that they were censoring Americans. I mean, they just knew. And he did release all that information. So the idea that someone who had access to the collusion between this particular tech company and the government having access to all of what the federal government is doing and auditing them, especially because a man owns a supercomputer. I mean, quantum computing is on the rise and doesn't quite exist for us yet, but he may actually have the resources to audit the entirety of the federal government and where the money's actually going. So it's going to be a pretty big thing. Again, I'm really concerned. Now, here's the thing about it. Not only do I have my concerns about where his allegiance really lies as it relates, not so much his allegiance. I think he loves America. I think he loves the Constitution. Again, I'm getting Lex Luthor vibes from him, right? Lex Luthor did not dislike America. He just wanted to control it. And when it went from just being about America to the planet, that changed. And so I'm very concerned about what Elon is up to. Very, very concerned. And I don't know how I feel about him having access to all of the federal government, although I understand why this could be a great thing. If he's not as bad as I think he is, this could be a really great thing. But the reason why I bring him up today and why he's in the same episode as RFK is that there was a particular episode of Tucker Carlson, one that everybody kept saying he was anti-Semitic over, not Elon, but Tucker Carlson, that he brought on a gentleman who talked about all the problems that were wrong in World War II, pretty much accused Winston Churchill of being a war criminal. And I'm not saying he is risen. I'm just saying this is what happened in the episode. And because of all this information coming out in that episode, Tucker got a lot of heat. Now, when that episode came out, Elon had retweeted, or tweeted, I should say more accurately, saying this was a good episode, that it was very interesting and it's watchable. People should watch it. Now he's taken this tweet down. He's deleted it. And I'm trying to understand why. Now, you tweeted this when you didn't know you had a position lined up for you in the Trump cabinet. And now that you know you're going to be a part of the cabinet, you removed a tweet that suggests in the video that there were some concerns, at least there are concerns today, about how World War II was actually handled. And so anyone who dares ask about the narrative of what happened with World War II is being considered anti-Semitic. We are being Holocaust deniers. I mean, that's what we're being referred to as. And we're not even saying that the horrible, monstrous things that Hitler did wasn't real or that it didn't happen. It's just a question of, was the response by the rest of Europe's leaders, particularly Winston Churchill, as well as the United States, was the response by us necessary, right? And for him to remove that tweet suggests to me that this could be about Israel. Because I got to concern about that again. America First does not want any wars. America First, the people, the group, do not want anything to do with this Israel conflict against the Palestinians. They want to say Hamas, potentially Iran. And so this seeming like you might be that. Now, I could just be drawing conclusions. He hasn't exactly said what his position is. And for him to play a role in this cabinet position, I need to know. I need to know what Elon thinks about that, because not knowing is making it easier for me to draw a conclusion. Now, that takes us to RFK. I've said in previous episodes that I love that RFK has endorsed President Trump. I love that RFK is going to be a part of the Trump cabinet as it relates to big pharma and dealing with the chemicals within our food. In his endorsement speech, he made it very clear that he's been doing this for some time. He's been looking into this. He's been sharing the information that as he found it. So the American people and anybody who can get access to his website are very much informed about what's going on. This inspired Candace Owens docu-series coming out soon, A Shot in the Dark, which I'm very excited for. Very, very excited for that. But I think this is a very big deal. I love that he's a part of the team. But then Candace Owens does a debate with Rabbi Shmuley. And this was on Piers Morgan. And if you guys have not seen that debate, I think she slaughtered him. She slaughtered him. Right? I don't even think you got to be someone who's a fan of Candace Owens, right? She slaughtered. It's quite obvious, you know. My favorite parts when she quoted the scripture, it was amazing. But ultimately, he comes out in defense of Rabbi Shmuley, who could not answer a question without ridiculous disrespect. He could not answer questions without getting louder and being ridiculously disrespectful, not only just to Candace, but also to Piers Morgan, and justified his position on Israel with war crimes. So let me get this straight. You're justifying Bibi Netanyahu with war crimes. And then you find out, because RFK came out and said that Candace Owens was anti-Semitic, that this was a gentleman, Rabbi Shmuley that is, who used to be a part of RFK's presidential campaign. Now, I don't know if he's still a part of this man's team. I don't know if Rabbi Shmuley reached out to RFK and said, hey, I just did this debate, go after Candace Owens. But essentially, RFK comes out and he says these things. I'm going to pull up the Newsmax article so we can read this together so you can see where my head is on RFK. Okay, so you guys see that. RFK Jr. hits Candace Owens for sickening attack on Rabbi. And I'm like, come on, please, you're drunk crazy. So it says, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. late Wednesday tore into conservative commentator Candace Owens for her claims about the late, I can't pronounce this name. You guys see this, Lubavitcher Rebbe. I don't want to do it any disjustice, so I'll stop there. During a podcast debate with Rabbi Shmuley, calling her characterization of the famed rabbi sickening. Candace Owens referred to what she termed radical Judaism and characterized this Jewish individual as someone who preached Jewish supremacism and hatred of all non-Jews. Okay, so, here we go. Her words, said by Kennedy, are a sickening and manifestly inaccurate description of a revered holy man who was respected and beloved by people of all faiths. Rabbi preached a message of unadulterated love, tolerance, respect, and universal justice for all humanity, said by Kennedy, adding that his father once visited the rabbi at 2:00 in the morning. As Americans, we need to distance ourselves from the troubling rise in anti-Semitism. We need unity in our country, not divisiveness. Okay, so, all right. We can stop reading there. Essentially, what he is saying is, because my daddy took a picture with the guy that she was talking about in the video, that there's something wrong with Candace, that she's anti-Semitic because she's wondering where the creation of radical Judaism comes from, as if not all religions don't have radicals. I mean, in Christianity, they were called the Puritans. We just had the common sense to kick them out and separate ourselves from them, hence why they're called the Puritans. Muslims have done the same thing. They have removed and kicked out the radical Islamists, hence why they're called radical Islamists and not Muslim, Jewish people. And even in her episode and in the debate that she had with Rabbi Shmuley, she even said herself that no, Jewish people saw that there was a problem with this man's teachings. They saw that there was something wrong with and some kind of perverted twist of their religion. So they kicked them out and removed them from their way of doing things. And even in her statement, she even said in that debate that she believes that all of the Abraham faiths, Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim, have all been infiltrated by an evil satanic regime. Call them whatever names you want, but essentially that's what that is. Whether you want to talk about the Puritans, whether you want to talk about radical Islamists, whether you want to talk about radical Judaism, none of these three are actually being true to what these religions are. Now we could disagree, agree. I don't know. This is the argument that she made. He comes out and calls her anti-Semitic on this. He does interviews talking about Israel. And wait a minute, I thought you said no wars, though. I thought you said you didn't want to be involved in any wars. I'm not even here to say that I agree or disagree with what Candace Owens is saying. I'm not saying that what she said is true. What I'm saying is that like her, I don't want to be involved in these wars. That's my position. That's been my position this entire time. When October 7th happened, I was agreeing with Jordan Peterson. Yeah, give him hell. We met the bad guys, though. This is going on too long. It is almost a year later, and you're still in this damn conflict that it has not been an end. You're killing way too many people that I'm comfortable with, and you just can't do today what was able to happen during World War I and World War II, where you can galvanize an entire nation to go to war, risk their money, their way of life, their men, their women at this point, into wars without having the American people ask questions. You're just not going to do it. If it's got nothing to do with my people, I don't care. Is it even? What are we doing here? Sorry, I've got no words. RFK is going to be a member of the Real Life Justice League of America. Elon Musk is going to play a role in the Real Life Justice League of America. JD Vance is the vice presidential pick for Trump, who is also a part of the Real Life Justice League of America. And y'all are looking like, to me, a little too eager to go to war and defend Israel. You're just a little too eager for me, okay? Tulsi Gabbard, as I said in the beginning, you guys, is my Hail Mary. Not only does she understand the cost of war, being a soldier herself, but she also understands that as America First, we just don't want to be involved. Megyn Kelly calls us isolationists. Ben Crappy Shapiro thinks it's because we're isolationists. No, if I were an isolationist, I wouldn't want to do business with even the peaceful nations. I wouldn't want to do business or engage with any country outside of my own. That's not what we're talking about here. I don't want to go to business with any nation that is in the middle of a conflict. Sorry, I don't think we should be involved. I'm pulling a straight Star Trek Federation's prime directive here. We should not be interfering with other people's conflicts. I don't think we're crazy for that. It doesn't make me anti-Semitic because I do not want to support Israel in this conflict. If you want a war with Iran, that is your business. If NATO says you're committing war crimes, which that's what this is looking like, then you may have to face the music and dance, BB, because really that's what it's looking like right now. And to be frank, not that I don't care, I just don't want to be involved. And then Piers Morgan is like, oh, listen, a few months ago, I came in here and I was like, you are wrong. This is anti-Semitic, this and the third. But now Israel is mad with it. So even Israel is mad with what is going on. So they don't want this war. We don't want to be in this war. What are we doing here? Okay. So I'm concerned about this Real Life Justice League of America, because are you really for America, or are you just the Justice League of the world? Because to be frank, you guys, never liked that they got further than the United States. Never liked that they got bigger than that. Okay. I want my Superman and my Justice League to be truth, justice, and the American way. I don't care about the rest of the world. Okay. As an American, I don't care about their conflicts. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to do business in regions that are at war with each other. I do not want to be involved in helping any other nations in the middle of war, especially when our nation is crippling right now. I don't think I'm crazy for saying this. I don't think America First is crazy for saying this. As I said many times, morality is not on the ballot. It's not on the ballot. But I do think that prosperity, productivity, strong work ethic, and security, that is. So I think we should vote for that. My eye is on them, like OD. Again, like I said, I'm watching RFK. I'm watching JD Vance, especially because he's the VP pick. I'm watching RFK, and I'm watching Elon Musk because I'm not yet quite convinced he's not our real life, Lex Luthor. Just not convinced that he isn't. Sorry. But the Baphomet costume was a really good indicator. So we shall see how this plays out. You all get in the comment sections and let me know what you think. Do you think that Elon Musk is, going to be pro-Israel in a way that we see with RFK? Is he going to utilize his position to try to negotiate and advocate to assisting Israel in a conflict the way that we see with RFK? And do you think RFK is going to have anything to say about Trump going to war and helping Israel against Iran and the Palestinians? And if that's going to affect your vote, because let me know what you guys think. I know a lot of the people who are podcasters are not quite thrilled about the Grapers saying they just won't vote. A lot of the pro-lifers are saying they're just not going to vote for either of the candidates if they don't get what they want in that. So you guys let me know in the comment sections what you really think about that. I am still keep my eye on things. We got a debate coming up soon, so we shall see how that goes as far as what they say about abortion and this conflict in Israel. Kamala Harris, obviously, keeps flip-flopping around, so we shall see. She flip-flops like a fish on the ground out of water, so we shall see how this goes. Let me all know what you guys think in the comment section. Thank you all for watching. Again, you guys can support the show by Cash Apping me at Cash App Arshel Branch. I love this content. Again, I want to apologize for not having posted in a while, but I already covered why I couldn't do that. You can follow me on Instagram at Archie Financial. You can follow me on Twitter at Archie_finance. And I'm very excited about producing more episodes, you guys. This is very fun. I love seeing what you guys have to say about this. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day, good night, and Kepler.